On 18 May, Monday, they celebrated the 100th anniversary of the birth of Saint Pope John Paul II by offering a Holy Mass at the altar where this Polish Pope is buried in St. Peter's Basilica. Pope Francis was joined by a very limited number of the faithful, as this liturgy on Monday morning was the very first open to the public after almost 2 months of restrictions due to the coronavirus pandemic. The life of Saint Pope John Paul II was that he believed that God would never forget his people, and in times of difficulty he visits them by sending a holy man or a prophet. In the life of Saint Pope John Paul II, we can see a man sent by God, prepared by him, and made a bishop and then a pope to guide God's church. Today, we can say that the Lord visited his people with this man. There are 3 particular traits that mark the life of John Paul II: prayer, closeness, and mercy. Despite his many duties as Pope, John Paul II always found time to pray. He knew well that the first task of the Bishop of Rome is to pray, noting that this is the teaching of St. Peter in the Acts of the Apostles. The first task of the bishop is to pray. John Paul knew this and did this. Saint Pope John Paul II was also close to the people, not detached or separated from them, but traveling the whole world to seek them out. Already in the Old Testament, we can see how God was uniquely close to his people. This closeness culminated in the Incarnation, when Jesus himself dwelt among his people. John Paul followed the example of Jesus, the Good Shepherd, drawing near to both the great and the small, to those close by and those physically far away. Finally, Saint Pope John Paul II was remarkable for his love of justice. But his love of justice was a desire for justice completed by mercy. And so John Paul was also a man of mercy himself, because justice and mercy go together. John Paul, who did so much to promote the divine mercy devotion, believed that God's justice had this face of mercy, this attitude of mercy. We can conclude with this prayer, that the Lord might grant to us all, and especially to pastors, ministers, and faith leaders, the grace of prayer, of closeness, and the grace of justice and mercy, and merciful justice. May we all find a way to follow in the footsteps of our most recent saint, Saint Pope John Paul II. Amen.